There was a certain king. He was extraordinarily vain. He was very arrogant and exceedingly vindictive. One day when his barber was cutting his beard, the barber said, "Great leader of the age, I have detected 2 white hairs in your beard." Well, in less time than it took to tell, the barber's head was lopped off his shoulders. Another barber was hired, and when he came to cut the king's beard, the king said, "Can you see any white hairs?" The barber said, "Yes, I detect 1 or 2. And again, in no time at all, his head was lopped from his shoulders. Well, the 3rd barber was hired, and when he came along, he'd learned the fate of the previous 2. So when the king asked him, "Can you see any white hairs in my beard?" the barber said, "No, great king, your beard is as black as ebony." "Liar!" said the king, "off with his head." So, of course, dear Mullah Nasruddin in his early days had been trained to be a barber, so he was called into the king's presence to become the king's barber. And when the king asked him, "Can you see any white hairs in my beard?" Mullah Nasruddin said, "Oh, great leader of the age, I have a great confession to make. I'm colorblind." And then there was a very poor man. He'd come from a province, leaving his family behind, and became a rubbish collector in a rich neighborhood of a very far distant place. And after 5 long years, he'd saved 500 coins, which was that which he was going to go home to his family to be reunited and live in comfort simply. But 500 was not enough, he considered, but he was afraid that his money would be stolen. So he heard of a certain judge who was supposed to be very honest and very fair. So he took his bag of mightily earned money to the judge, and he said, "I hear that you are an honest and fair man, and I wonder if you would take my hard-earned money and keep it safe for me until I earn just 100 or so more, so that I can return to my family." "Oh," said the judge, "if I am not honest, may I lose all my possessions." So the poor man left his money in the care of the judge. But soon after, some of his friends who came from the province in which he was seeking work said that they were going to go back home, and they were going to make a caravan. So our poor man decided that even though he considered that 500 was not enough, he didn't want to miss the opportunity. So he decided to go and travel with his friends from his far-off distant land and return to his family. So he went to the judge to claim his money. And when he came in front of the judge beat him and said, "Who are you? What? I know nothing about you. I don't know anything about any money that you've left." Well, the poor man was devastated. How many long years would it take him to earn again enough money so that he could be reconciled with his family. But one day, when he was collecting the rubbish from a very, very rich man's house, a deep sigh from the depths of his soul rose up and was heard by the woman of the house in her chamber upstairs. So she came and asked him, "What is it that's troubling you?" And he sighed once again and said, "I cannot burden you with my woes." But she begged and coerced him until he finally told her what had happened. And she said, Go at this time and ask the judge again as though nothing had happened." In the meanwhile, the woman of the house collected together some of her most valuable jewelry, and she put it in a bag. And taking with her her very trusted and devoted handmaiden, who she instructed, "When you see the poor man coming out of the judge's house with his money in his hand, come in and say to me, 'Your husband has just arrived from Egypt and demands your presence immediately.'" So the woman went to the judge's house with her bag of jewelry. And she said, "Great judge, I've heard of your honesty and fairness, and my husband has been overseas in Egypt for several years, and he calls for me to join him. But I'm afraid to leave my jewels behind in case they might be stolen. I wonder if you would take care of them." But just as the judge was agreeing to do this, the poor man came in and asked for his money once again. And the judge said, "Oh, it's you. Why are you leaving so soon? Yes, here is your money." And he gave the money to the poor man, and turning to the woman, he said, you see how honest I am. Even the poor people come to me and trust me with their money." And off the poor man went with his bag. Just then, the servant girl dashed into the house and said, "Mistress, I have a message from your husband. He's just returned from Egypt and demands your presence at your house immediately." So the woman, taking her bag of jewelry, thanking the judge profusely, went off to her home. The judge, left behind, stroked his venerable beard and said, "I've been outwitted by..." When we recognize that every character in every story is an aspect of our own psyche, what is it in this story that outwitted the judge? Every character in every story is an aspect of our self, our psyche. Recognizing But the judge, the poor man, the old woman of the house, even the maidservant, represent in us. What is it that outwitted the judge? What is it that happens when those three dimensions of life, that level of cause and effect where we learned all our street smarts, that level of spirit where we no longer negate our dreams or our intuitions or our insights, and that level where we feel and recognize the interrelatedness of everything come together. What is it that's present? What is it that has the ability to outwit any illusion, deception, delusion, seduction that comes along for us?
You know, he really sighed at the right time. That was his intuition, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, that's come over him to do that at that time, where she just happened. Not that anything is a coincidence, but she heard it. So then their plan. Well, then it wasn't actually a plan, was it? She said that this is what we'll do. So it was all of them. Everything, every moment led to it.